How did scattered farming communities along two river valleys give rise to one of the world's oldest continuous civilizations? This documentary examines the archaeological and historical evidence behind early China's formation, from the first agricultural settlements to the emergence of Bronze Age states. We'll explore what researchers have confirmed through excavation and scientific analysis, what remains debated among scholars, and where the evidence becomes uncertain. You'll discover how environmental conditions, agricultural innovation, metallurgical advances, and social organization combined in specific ways to create the foundations of Chinese civilization. One discovery in a Hainan province village would reveal China's earliest known writing system. One unprecedented bronze vessel would demonstrate technological sophistication that rivals any ancient civilization. One river valley's unique soil would make intensive agriculture possible where it had never existed before. Stay with us as we trace early China's origins through verifiable evidence, distinguishing fact from interpretation, and exploring what the archaeological record actually reveals. Between approximately 10,000 and 7,000 BCE, human communities in the Yellow River Valley underwent a gradual transformation from mobile hunter-gatherers to settled agriculturalists. This transition is documented through archaeological sites across modern Henan, Shanxi, and Shanxi provinces. The Yellow River region offered a critical environmental advantage: loess soil. Loess is a fine-grained, wind-deposited sediment that is exceptionally fertile and requires minimal effort to cultivate with simple tools. Unlike dense clay soils found in other regions, loess could be worked using stone and wooden implements available to Neolithic communities. Liu and Chen, 2012, The Archaeology of China. The Peiligang culture, circa 7,000 to 5,000 BCE, provides our earliest clear evidence of settled agriculture in northern China. Excavations have uncovered villages with semi-subterranean pit houses, stone grinding tools for processing grain, and storage pits containing carbonized millet seeds. Radiocarbon dating confirms these communities practiced systematic cultivation of foxtail millet, Citaria italica, and broomcorn millet, Panicum miliaceum, both species native to northern China. Liu and others, 2009, Science. By 5000 BCE, the Yangshao culture had emerged, characterized by distinctive painted pottery, larger village settlements, and evidence of increasing social complexity. Excavations at Banpo village near modern Xi'an revealed approximately 45 houses arranged around a central plaza, suggesting communal organization. Critically, burial analysis shows differentiation in grave goods. Some individuals were interred with elaborate pottery and jade objects, while others received minimal offerings, indicating emerging social hierarchy. Chang, 1986, The Archaeology of Ancient China. Most researchers agree that agriculture in the Yellow River Valley developed independently from other centers of plant domestication, though some scholars continue investigating possible contacts with Central Asian populations. Genetic analysis of ancient millet samples supports local domestication rather than introduction from elsewhere. Hunt et al., 2008, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. These agricultural foundations created food surpluses that enabled population growth, craft specialization, and the social complexity that would characterize later Chinese civilization. If you're finding this evidence-based exploration of early China valuable, please like this video and subscribe for more factual historical documentaries. Share your thoughts in the comments about how agriculture transforms human societies, and share this with anyone interested in civilization's deep origins. Your support helps us create more content like this. Around 3000 BCE, a significant transformation occurred across northern China with the emergence of the Longshan culture. The most striking archaeological feature of this period is the sudden appearance of massive defensive walls around settlements. Excavations have documented dozens of Longshan sites with stamped earth fortifications. At Taosi in Shanxi province, archaeologists uncovered walls measuring 9 to 10 meters thick at the base, enclosing approximately 280 hectares, vastly larger than earlier village sites. Institute of Archaeology 2005, Chinese Archaeology. The construction technique, known as hung tu, rammed earth, involved compacting successive layers of less soil within wooden frames, creating structures capable of lasting centuries. What prompted this massive investment in fortification? The evidence suggests multiple contributing factors. Paleoclimatic data from sediment cores and pollen analysis indicates this period experienced significant environmental stress, including irregular rainfall patterns that may have intensified competition for productive agricultural land. Wu and Liu, 2004, Quaternary Research. Additionally, skeletal remains from this period show increased evidence of violent trauma, and some settlement layers contain evidence of burning consistent with warfare. Underhill, 2002, Craft Production and Social Change in Northern China. The Longshan period also reveals accelerating social stratification. Elite burials contain jade ornaments, specialized pottery, and distinctive drinking vessels, gui, associated with ritual alcohol consumption, likely ceremonial feasting that reinforced hierarchical relationships. Some scholars interpret these patterns as evidence of chiefdom-level societies or proto-states, though others argue that centralized political authority remained limited. Liu and Chen, 2003, State Formation in Early China. Importantly, the Longshan culture exhibits regional variation. Communities in different valleys developed distinct pottery styles and burial practices, while sharing broader patterns of fortification and social complexity. This suggests multiple competing polities rather than a unified political entity. The transition to fortified settlements represents fundamental social reorganization that established conditions for later state formation. Between approximately 1900 and 1500 BCE, a culture emerged in the Yilou River Valley of Hainan Province that represents a critical threshold in Chinese social and political development, Erlitou. The Erlitou site covers roughly 300 hectares and contains unprecedented architectural and material evidence. Excavations directed by the Institute of Archaeology, Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, have revealed palatial foundations built on massive rammed earth platforms, organized workshops for bronze production, and elite burials with sophisticated grave goods. Erlitou Team, 2014, Journal of East Asian Archaeology. The palace complex follows a north-south axial arrangement that would become standard in later Chinese imperial architecture, suggesting early concepts linking cosmic order with political power. Bronze metallurgy distinguishes Erlitou from all preceding Chinese cultures. Archaeologists have recovered bronze ritual vessels, including the distinctive Zhou tripod wine vessel, which required advanced piece mold casting techniques. Production of these objects demanded specialized metallurgical knowledge, access to tin and copper ores from geographically distant sources, and coordinated craft production, all indicators of centralized control over resources and labor. Liu and others, 2002, Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. The relationship between Erlitou and the Xia dynasty mentioned in later Chinese texts remains actively debated. Traditional Chinese historiography describes Xia as China's first dynasty, preceding the Shang. However, no contemporary written records from Erlitou have been discovered. Some scholars, including Xu Hong of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, argue that Erlitou represents the archaeological manifestation of the Xia dynasty. Others maintain that without written evidence, this identification remains speculative. A third group suggests Erlitou may represent an early phase of the Shang dynasty itself. Allen, 2007, Bulletin of the Museum of Far Eastern Antiquities. What remains undisputed is that Erlitou demonstrates state-level organization, monumental architecture, craft specialization, long-distance exchange networks, and pronounced social hierarchy expressed through material culture and ritual. The Shang dynasty, circa 1600 to 1046 BCE, represents a fundamental shift in our understanding of early China. It is the first Chinese dynasty confirmed by contemporary written documentation. This confirmation derives from oracle bones, over 150,000 inscribed cattle scapulae and turtle plastrons, excavated from Shang sites, particularly the late Shang capital at Yinshu, ruins of Yin, near modern Anyang, Henan province. These bones were employed in divination rituals conducted by Shang kings and specialists. Questions were carved onto the bone's surface using bronze tools, heat was applied to create stress cracks, and the patterns were interpreted as responses from royal ancestors or the deity Di. The inscriptions record royal genealogies, military campaigns, ritual schedules, harvest predictions, and administrative decisions. Cately, 1978, Sources of Shang History. The royal lineage preserved on oracle bones corresponds closely with king lists recorded in the Shiji, Records of the Grand Historian, by Sima Qian, compiled over 1,000 years later around 94 BCE. This correspondence transformed the Shang from legendary rulers into historically verified figures. Shaughnessy, 1999, The Cambridge History of Ancient China. Archaeological excavations at Yinshu, conducted continuously since the 1920s, have documented a Bronze Age state operating at unprecedented scale. The site includes royal tomb complexes with evidence of human sacrifice, sometimes numbering in the hundreds per tomb, bronze vessels weighing up to 875 kilograms, the Simu Wu Ding, specialized craft workshops, and remains of palace structures covering thousands of square meters. Institute of Archaeology, 2003, Anyang, Yinshu. The Shang political system appears to have functioned as a theocratic monarchy, where the king served as an intermediary between human society and the spirit world. Oracle bone inscriptions frequently record the king consulting with Di and royal ancestors regarding warfare, agriculture, weather, and ritual propriety. However, the extent of Shang territorial control remains debated among scholars, with interpretations ranging from centralized empire to decentralized alliance system.
Bronze technology in Shang China was not merely utilitarian, it was fundamentally political. The production and ritual use of bronze vessels became a primary mechanism for displaying and legitimizing hierarchical power. Shang bronze vessels were manufactured using the piece mold technique, a method technologically distinct from the lost wax casting employed in other Bronze Age civilizations. This process required creating a detailed clay model, forming multiple outer mold sections around it, then assembling these pieces with a ceramic core to create the negative space for molten bronze. The technical expertise and organizational capacity required meant bronze production was effectively monopolized by elite groups. Bagley, 1987, Shang Ritual Bronzes in the Arthur M. Sackler collections. These vessels were not created for daily domestic use. They functioned in ancestral rituals where food and alcohol offerings were presented to deceased rulers and lineage ancestors. Possession of elaborate bronze sets signaled proximity to power and legitimacy to communicate with the spirit world. Archaeological evidence demonstrates such vessels were frequently buried with their owners, reinforcing social hierarchy beyond death. Inscriptions on later Shang and especially Western Zhou bronzes record dedications, genealogical claims, and grants of authority, functioning as imperishable documents of political relationships. The elaborate tauti, stylized animal mask motifs that cover many vessels may represent protective spirits or cosmological principles, though scholarly interpretation of their precise meaning remains debated. Rawson, 1987, Chinese Bronzes, Art and Ritual. Beyond bronze, Shang elites controlled other prestige materials, jade objects sourced from distant regions, cowrie shells functioning as currency, and silk textiles, referenced in oracle bone inscriptions, though rarely preserved archaeologically. This monopoly over valuable goods created dependency networks, extending Shang influence beyond directly administered territory. The ritualized deployment of bronze thus constituted a system of power integrating religious authority, economic control, and political legitimacy through carefully orchestrated ceremonies and material display.
Around 1046 BCE, though some scholars propose dates ranging from 1050 to 1020 BCE, the Shang dynasty ended through military conquest. Archaeological and textual evidence indicates the Zhou people, previously a polity based in the Wei River Valley, overthrew the last Shang king, Di Xin, and established their own ruling dynasty. The Zhou conquest required ideological justification. Zhou rulers articulated a concept that would fundamentally shape Chinese political philosophy for millennia, the mandate of heaven, Tianming. According to this doctrine, preserved in texts like the Shu Jing, Book of Documents, a dynasty's right to rule derived not from hereditary succession or military strength alone, but from moral virtue recognized by cosmic forces. Heaven, Tian, granted its mandate to virtuous rulers and withdrew it from those who governed tyrannically or immorally. The Shang's final king, portrayed in Zhou sources as corrupt and cruel, had forfeited the mandate. Thus, the Zhou conquest represented rightful succession rather than illegitimate rebellion. Shaughnessy, 1999, The Cambridge History of Ancient China. This concept established revolutionary implications. Political legitimacy was conditional and transferable. It also implied that subjects possessed grounds to evaluate rulers against moral standards, establishing philosophical foundations for later Confucian political thought. The Zhou initially governed from their capital near modern Xi'an, implementing a control strategy differing from the Shang system. The Zhou practiced what scholars term a feudal arrangement, granting territories to royal relatives and loyal allies who became regional lords, zhuhou. These lords owed military service and tribute to the Zhou king, but governed their domains with considerable autonomy. Bronze inscriptions recording formal investiture ceremonies and obligations demonstrate systematic governance, while regional archaeological variation in material culture supports this decentralized model. Su and Lindhoff, 1988, Western Zhou Civilization. However, Zhou centralization weakened over time as regional lords accumulated independent power, eventually challenging royal authority, a process culminating in later political fragmentation. The transformation from Neolithic farming villages to Bronze Age dynastic states occurred over approximately 5 millennia, shaped by environmental conditions, technological innovation, and evolving social structures documented in the archaeological record. The evidence reveals clear patterns. The Yellow River's low soil enabled early millet agriculture. Environmental stress and resource competition drove fortification and social stratification during the Longshan period. Bronze technology and writing emerged as instruments of elite power and ritual authority. Political legitimacy became conceptually linked to cosmic order and moral virtue. Yet significant questions remain unresolved within scholarly discourse. The relationship between the Erlitou archaeological culture and the historically described Xia dynasty continues generating debate. Some scholars accept the identification, others require written evidence before confirming it. The precise territorial extent of Shang political control remains unclear, with interpretations ranging from centralized state to decentralized alliance network. The degree of cultural continuity between Shang and Zhou societies, despite their political rupture, requires ongoing investigation. What can be stated with archaeological confidence is that by the Western Zhou period, fundamental elements of Chinese civilization were established. a logographic writing system ancestral to modern Chinese characters, bronze ritual traditions expressing hierarchical relationships, ancestor veneration as central religious practice, concepts of dynastic legitimacy tied to cosmic order, and political culture centered on the relationship between earthly rulers and transcendent forces. These foundations were not historically inevitable. They emerged from specific geographic advantages, technological developments, and social choices made by communities across northern China over thousands of years. Understanding early China requires carefully distinguishing what archaeology confirms, what texts claim, and where evidence remains ambiguous or contested. The origins of Chinese civilization were gradual, regionally diverse, and complex, shaped by human innovation responding to environmental challenges across millennia.